you are in the world listening to another episode of the Baa-Ram-Ewe podcast. I'm sure you guys are like, what? This guy's just come out of hiding after 2 years. And listen, I'm not saying I'm back. I just have to share this stuff. Since stopping Baa-Ram-Ewe podcast, I wouldn't say that I've been completely shut off from conspiracies, and I mean, how can you be in 2025? We're surrounded by them. The media and what's happening, especially in the UK right now, it's just crazy, and I think a lot of conspiracy theorists are probably walking around with their heads held high at the moment, although it is a sad state of affairs, and I'm sure a lot of people like myself are not happy that they've been proved right with what's gone on, but unfortunately that's just the what's happened is happened, and that's just it. So what I will say is, after leaving the podcast and deciding to focus on myself, and I hate saying mental health and depression and shit like that because I was nowhere near depressed, but it definitely took a toll on my mental health and made me a more serious, unfun person, and I decided to let it go for a while. I've still been keeping a close eye on things, just not, posting and doing podcasts and all that kind of stuff. But the one conspiracy, if that is what it's called, that I have been taking a keen interest in and actively learning, researching, and listening to others on this topic is the one that I'm going to talk to you about today. And I may start doing more of these videos in regards to the topic, which is sports are rigged, numerology, gematria, football especially because it's the sport that I love the most. But I really did have my eyes opened during, I think it was the 2023-24 season, and I'll drop in the people that if you'd like to know more. I'm by no means an expert on this subject, but it was a man by the name of Adam. He has a channel on YouTube called The Illusion. I came across one of his videos one day. In fact, I can tell you exactly what it was. Adam the Illusion had a video on the predicted death of Queen Elizabeth, that he believed she would die on a certain date, and the video, in fact, was the week before the she had died, and the video was up leading up to the game between Leicester and Spurs. So that'll tell you what season it was. And a lot of people in Adam's community were claiming that this game was going to end 5-2 to Spurs, based on the Queen's death, based on when she was coronated in 1952. So I watched openly and intently. I put a little bet on 5-2. I told my friends about this theory, and lo and behold, it gets to 5-2 with, I think it was 5 or 10 minutes to go, and it finished 6-2. I was hooked because at any point in that match, when it was 5-2, you could have cashed out your bet, and 5-2 is not a common scoreline. I know it finished 6-2, but you also have the Queen's, is it the Queen's birthday or unofficial birthday is actually June the 2nd. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I know it's 2-6 or 6-2. It's either the 6th of February or the 2nd of June. So, I mean, stand corrected if it's not. But it really did. From that point onwards, I joined Adam's website. He charges $10 a month, which is nothing for this type of knowledge. I'll tell you that for nothing. I have gained more money and more knowledge for my $10 a month than I can ever have imagined. And I think the reason why the theory of football and other sports, because it's not just football Adam talks about, it's baseball, basketball, golf, any sport. I think he if you look on his Instagram, one of his pinned posts is all the sports that he's correctly coded, is the phrase. So I've stuck along with Adam since then, and a few people in his community are just so great at coding, and one in particular Rico 33 was hitting goal scorers. You can code actually who will score goals in certain games. And his success rate, in my opinion, was well above 75%, probably 80-85%. And I learned how to do what he was doing via his codes. And now I'm, you know, not the best. I go through spells where a month will go by and I've rarely to miss. My accuracy rate would be up there as well, 75-80%. And then I get months where I can't hit any. And it's frustrating because I know to a lot of skeptics out there, and myself included at a certain point, I would have been frustrated. I think I did send a few comments into to Adam's website that I was frustrated, and if this was such a, you know, coded reality and that players were scoring goals based on numbers and gematria and their date of birth and events, then why don't they hit every single time? But you know, I stuck with it, and now I'm a firm believer, 100%, that there's something going on with sports, and not just sports, our reality as a whole. So I'm really keen to bring you this information and see what you guys think. This is something that I have longed to reach out to people and talk to about, and actually get more and more people on board and doing it, because the more eyes that are on these things, the better for us. And I know Adam, we've been speaking often on Instagram, and he has decided to focus more on world events and pushing people into, you know, to God, and to give your lives to God. And he's pushing that World War III is going to come and all that, which is fine. I know a lot of people on Adam's website, and myself included, don't agree with everything he says, and that's fine, and Adam knows that. But ultimately, building a community, and if you're in it for the purposes of, you know, that just gaining money, which we all need and want in this day and age, we're all struggling for money, and obviously bet responsibly. But if you're also in it to learn about our true existence and what's going on in the world, it's also a really beneficial thing. So without further ado, I'm going to bring you something that I've just recently learned. In included the guy on the screen, Diogo Jota, which I'm sure if you're a football fan, you'll have known about the tragic death that Diogo Jota endured in July this year, along with his brother who was travelling in the car. But I'm going to show you guys in this video, and possibly a second video that I'll upload to back this up with my team. I am a Celtic fan. Since learning this knowledge, it does, you know, it does take away the spark from football or any sport. If you're into baseball, basketball, and you see this stuff playing out, you eventually realise that it's all rigged, it's coded, and there's an element of human, the human aspect, which is like VAR, referees being paid, you know, the human element of rigging sports. But I do think that there is a divine element of energy or demonic possession. The terms, even in football and other sports like possession, and the numbers like the 6 yard line, the 18 yard line, you know, there's a lot of occult numbers and symbology in sports, and the celebrations that these players put out when they score goals, the dates on which they sign for their football teams are all very occultic, and it's just it's disheartening. So tread carefully, should I say, if you don't want your existence, your reality ruined with sports. If it's the one love and passion that you have, please don't watch any more of this video, because for me it's just ruined. And I'm now watching sporting events as if we were watching a play, as if it was theatre, and that's just the reality that I've come to, and I'm okay with that. Like it's not, it doesn't affect my life. It actually saves me exerting any energy. You know, a lot of football supporting fans, and not just football. I keep saying that, other fans, they'll go to bed at night, they'll cry, they'll get angry, they'll say things, they'll fall out with friends. It really affects their lives, and that is what this is. Sport is bread and circus. The even I could get political and say about how tribalism is a huge aspect and why we can't seem to agree on things politically, because if you're a Celtic fan, for example, in this part of the world, you're a Catholic and you're most likely um, supporting of Palestine, and if you're a Rangers fan, you're a royalist and you're probably on the side of Israel, and that's just it. If you just took a step back from your colours and the t-shirt that you choose to put on a Saturday afternoon, and realise that we're more alike than different, and that there's philosophy and morals that are more important than what team you support, that I think it would be a benefit to the whole of humanity. So so without further ado, I'm going to get into this video, which is about Diogo Jota and the prediction that a lot of coders that I'm seeing are believing that Liverpool will win the league this season, 2025-26. Alexander Isak. Now, everyone who is into football will know about this story and how Liverpool, the whole summer have tried hard to buy Alexander Isak from Newcastle. I think the figure they finally settled on was 125 million. And I'm sure there will be some significance in why 125 was the agreed figure. But I'm going to focus on why this man may guide Liverpool to their 21st title. And I know what you're thinking. Why are you not showing me a player with 21 on their back? And that's just it. It is difficult, and I'll show you in the Celtic. I've done a bit more research with Celtic and why 56, and last season they won their 55th, and so on. It's not just the numbers on their back. It's finding, and it's tough. You almost feel like you're an investigator. You're looking at the squad. You're seeing who was bought and sold that season. You're looking for the number of the title that relates to the title they're going for and the player. And for me, it's Alexander Isak's birthday that is the telltale sign here. So if you look there, Alexander Isak's birthday is the 21st of September 1999. So I've seen other coders out there believing that Alexander Isak, who has been given the number 9 jersey, will lead Liverpool to their 21st title. Now that may not be the smoking gun. There may be other 21s in Liverpool's squad, but this is the one that I think people have found, and that they are saying that. And again, that's not to say that it will be this season. A lot of coders out there believe that Arsenal will have their year, and they've got their own reasons. I think they're also going for their 14th title, which is why Gyökeres was given the number 14 shirt. But for Liverpool's chances, they've signed a player. His birthday is 21-9. They've given him the number 9 shirt, and will he lead them to their 21st title? I think it's also beneficial to look at the final day of the season and to see if there's any symbolic things in there that would show you where the Premier League title will be lifted, which team it would be against. And in this case, we see that Liverpool will be playing Brentford on the 24th of May. That is a very, very symbolic day, which is something that coders like to do, is look at the national holidays on that day. So I'll do that for you now. And also remember, they're playing Brentford. Well, would you look at that? The 24th of May 2026 is none other than Brothers' Day. How fitting for a club that lost their beloved Diogo Jota and his brother the season before, in that summer. Another one that is fitting is, and this is another tragic event that happened in the summer, was when Liverpool were having their parade. A man drove his Ford Galaxy into crowds, injuring more than 134 people. And when I saw that Liverpool were playing Brentford on the final day of the season, this came back to me. It's insane. Now to my own team, Celtic, after realizing that this is what clubs do, and it's also even in the name, like elite clubs, the elites, they know this stuff. Now, again, you may ask yourself, why doesn't all teams do this? Because probably there's managers. What I believe is that there's managers that are elite managers that know this stuff, and that's why they're so successful. Your Peps, your Klopps, your Ancelottis. I think Brendan Rodgers obviously knows this stuff. He's been described as an elite manager. He's managed at the highest level. He will know this stuff, and I think it's very telling at Celtic. And I've gone through the last 5 seasons, and I've managed to pinpoint which player was Celtic's lucky charm, and it's very telling when that player gets that title, then they leave the next season. There's also, in regards to like how Jota was sacrificed, and I know a lot of people believe that that is what that was, that there are also ex-players that die during the course of the season, and that's their lucky charm, and they go on to win the title, and it's all, in the media around, let's get together, let's do this. For example, Tommy Burns was the famous one that Celtic kind of rallied around. But yeah, this is something that I've managed to work out, and I will share that stuff with you. But on the screen, we have Anthony Ralston, who's been a bit part player for most of his Celtic career. He's always wore the number 56, and Celtic this season are going for title number 56. So I had said at the start of the season, when I found out this knowledge after the Jota ritual was exposed, I looked at my own team as I normally do in a workout, and I did say to a lot of my friends that Anthony Ralston will be the key to knowing if Celtic get their 56th title this season. Now I know Anthony Ralston's got another year after this season, so that's what's throwing me off. I did think that, in the grand scheme of things, that maybe Rangers will win this season, the title this season. There's just a whole feeling around the club. They've been bought out by the 49ers, and with Russell Martin drawing the first 3 games 1-1 in that 33, it just made me think, I wonder if Rangers win the title this season, and then in Anthony Ralston's last season at the club, they'll do a rally thing like they did with Tom Rogic. They'll do one last final season. He will get to hold up the league title, and he'll get his goodbye and his send off. So that could be one possibility. It could be this season, but it's very telling that he has managed to stay in contract with Celtic when really he's not really good enough at the level that we were at. At certain points, he should have been transferred out. It's funny that I should find this picture, because look at the guy in the picture next to him, Stephen Welsh, who wears the number 57. He had a permanent move blocked to Plymouth, I believe, on the final day of the transfer window this season, in favour of going to Motherwell on loan. So it will be very telling if we win the 56th title this year. He comes back after his loan and goes straight into the starting 11 or plays some part, because as I said, I knew Anthony Ralston would play some part in this season. He's been a sub player. Our main right back, Alistair Johnson, got an injury. He will now be out for 3 months, and Anthony Ralston is now our main right back. So look for Stephen Welsh to have some significance in the following season. It's very telling that we didn't get rid of him. And yeah, that's I think that is Celtic's lucky charm for the next 2 titles. First order here, I get that, but last season Celtic won their 55th league title, drawing level with Rangers on 55, and obviously we don't have a 55 in our squad, but I know through experience that number 55 is the 10th Fibonacci. So I will look for 10, and lo and behold, Kuhn, who wore 10, was sold this summer as a ritual, in my opinion, just like Jota, just like Ralston will be after 56 is reached. 54 was a bit more difficult. I believe I've settled on Syed Haksabanovic, who was again a bit part player, someone that Ange brought in, put straight into the squad, and could sometimes be a worldie, could have a great game, and sometimes be as if he'd never played football in his life. When I saw it, his birthday was the 4th of May, or written as 5-4 if you're American. Now, a lot of this stuff can be written in the American terms. I think most of the world is that way. I think Europe are the only ones who do it the other way. So that was something, the 5-4 for 54. And I also noticed this. Haksabanovic ended on 5 goals and 4 assists for Celtic as well. So there's another 54. For 53, that was an easy one. Obviously, again, with experience, knowing that 53 is the 16th prime number. So I was looking for a number 16 in the squad. Now, this will make sense to a lot of Celtic fans that Ange Postecoglou, when he came in, he signed McCarthy. I think he had 11 appearances for Celtic in the league. Very rarely was seen. It was a weird one. But now that I know of this knowledge, I'll know why. McCarthy was brought in with 16 energy to get Celtic's 53rd title. And then there's this man, the wizard, Tom Rogic, who led Celtic to their 52nd league title under Ange. Stayed on for a further year because Ange convinced him to, and he didn't disappoint. Was very influential that season. Now, I know you're wondering, he wore the number 18, so it's not that for 52. But when you type Rogic into the Gematrinator, now this is something that I will teach you if I do more of these videos or ask in the comment sections. Gematria is a huge part of our world, and again, I actually have an episode on Gematria and numerology. I think it's episode 7. If you want to go back and refresh with that, but Gematria is an ancient Jewish language, and it is the language of turning letters into numbers, giving names a numeric value. So when I typed Rogic into the Gematrinator, it came up with the value of 52. So I'm guessing that Rogic was and it was. I mean, that season was all surrounding Tom Rogic. The send off, the final game of the season was it was a tearjerker for every Celtic fan. He was crying as he got subbed off. The hug from Ange, it was it was very fitting. And I think on those types of final days where it's all fitting and coming together and it's beautiful, I think it's an obvious one to point that player was probably the lucky charm and was chosen to have their final season and lead Celtic to lead their team to a title. So I'm going with Tom Rogic for the 52. Now again, this was not a lot of research. I could be proven wrong on these ones. Maybe there's another player or the manager even. The manager could have a huge bearing on the title and where it goes. But this is something that I'd hang my hat on. What's going on with sport, and even not just sport, just in our world in general. That dates such as 9/11, which was declared 9/11 being a huge number and a huge event in our world, and it is very popular in the world. The number 33 was huge. I know you know that I've spoke often about the number 33, and even how COVID was declared a worldwide pandemic on 3/11, which 3 times 11 is 33. And I mean, I did an episode on Disney and the prevalence of 113 in a lot of Disney films, on the number plate on Toy Story, on the wall on Monsters Inc., that 113. So yeah, there's definitely an occult, symbolic, numerology, gematria element to our world, and it's prevalent in sports as well. And maybe now that I've told you guys of this stuff, you'll start questioning it, you'll start seeing it, which is more important. I think if you look into one of Adam's video on the career of Cristiano Ronaldo and how He returned to Man United X amount of years after he left. He captained them on the same day that he captained them the last time round. Things like that, it's very symbolic, and these players are guided. I think some of them know, some of them don't know, some of them just have agents that are in the know or managers that are in the know. But it's definitely, for me, it's something that I'm hooked on. I'm winning money more than, if that is what you're into and you're not caring about the knowledge. There's definitely coders out there that will win you money and show you why teams are losing and winning games of football. And it's just so, it's crazy what's going on. But for me, I'd rather know. I know a lot of fans might have turned the video off and might be shouting at the screen that I'm talking a load of nonsense right now. And I respect that. If you don't want to wake up to the reality that we're in, that's fine. Ignorance is bliss, and sometimes I've battled with myself on, if going back all those years and taking the red or the blue pill. But for me, it always ends up that I would rather know. Dying in my bed, hopefully many years from now, I will feel a sense of, content that I worked out through the help of others, and having the mentality and the temperament to sit down and listen to voices that a lot of people would have turned away from. It gives me a sense of pride, and I'm just grateful to have a voice and be living in an era where a lot of things are happening, and that I have a voice to share some of this information and wake up even just that one person. It would be enough, it really would be. It would mean everything. So guys, this is really, I don't know if I'm going to do more of these. Ultimately, I've longed for someone to be as keen as I am in this stuff, so that I could teach them, and two heads are better than one. A lot of people in this, realm, Adam's website and that, are very anonymous, and I get that. It would be great if people could, get their heads together, drop the egos, and let's, whether it be crack the code for, knowledge and learning about the world, or whether it just be to line your pockets and bank accounts, each to their own. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Please get your comments in. I probably will post this one on YouTube. I'm not saying I'm going back to it all. It's just a video that I've been so excited to get out there and see what the general consensus is. And I hope you've enjoyed it. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Baa-Ram-Ewe, Baa-Ram-Ewe. To your breed, your place, your plan be true. Shape be true. Baa-Ram-Ewe.